So lately, a lot of people have been using their microphones to talk over their videos to present new ideas rather than subtitling their videos, yada, yada, yada. And 10 out of 10 do recommend. I much prefer it, so keep up the good work. But I thought I should, maybe present a few ideas, some tips I am aware of from my time of using headset microphones, just to maybe help some of you produce better quality audio in your content. Now, that's not to say it's not bad or it's not enjoyable in any means, but I thought, heck, I know the information, why not pass it on to some of you guys? So I'm going to get straight into it. Number one, if you're using a headset microphone, it's most likely got something called built-in gain. Now, gain is the sensitivity of your microphone. If your gain is really high, your microphone's going to be picking up a lot of noise. And that includes noise that you shouldn't be able to hear, such as background noise. It's going to really amplify the ambiency of your background. So what you can do is, if you don't have control over your gain, is to take your headset off your head, hold it in front of you by anywhere from a few inches to, I don't know, maybe about 30 centimeters, and just talk into it that way. You might have to be a little bit louder to increase the level of the audio, but other than that, that's tip number one, because what that does is a lot of things, actually. Not only are you distancing yourself from your microphone, which reduces the amounts of distortion from your P's and S's, you're going to be lowering the levels of your audios, which mean your peaks of your audio is going to be a lot lower than what it normally would be if it was right in front of your face. And as I said, it's going to reduce some of those hard sounds and those really windy and airy sounds that you get when it's right in front of your face. And, I used to have a headset microphone about 3 years ago now, I think. And that's exactly what I did. I held my microphone in front of me and I talked into it, held it as still as possible, or at one point I mounted it. And that's exactly what I did, and there's nothing wrong with that. Tip number 2 isn't so much a tip, but it's more advice on how to use equipment if you've already got it. If you've got a headset that has a variable gain switch, or if you've got a desktop microphone that has a gain switch, absolutely learn to use it. You don't need high gain. Now, you will notice when you play back some audio, it's going to be really quiet. Now, that's not because the gain is too low all the time. Sometimes it will be, but it might be because the levels are too low. Now, if you don't have a level switch or a level knob, then you're going to have to change this in post. And it's not hard. There are a few things about something called normalization, where you can normalize the peaks, which means you can take the maximum peak out of all your audio and set it to be, say, -1 decibels, and then all your audio gets increased by the same amount. And that's just some post-production stuff you could probably look into if you're really that adamant about high-quality audio. But other than that, learn to use the compression knob, the gain knob or the level knob if you've got it. So level is similar to gain. Gain is the input, the sensitivity of your microphone. Level is the output of your microphone. Now, when I say input, by the way, it's not necessarily the loudness of what goes in, it's the amount of sound that goes in. Once that sound has been captured, you can increase that level of sound, I guess. So if you're capturing my voice and you're not capturing the background, when you increase that by not necessarily a large amount, but by a small amount, my voice will go louder, but the background won't. And there are a lot of technical reasons for that. Short story is that sound increases exponentially. But primarily, that doesn't matter. But if your gain is really high, you're going to be capturing a lot of extra sound. And then when you increase it, not necessarily by a large amount again, but even by a small amount, some of that background noise will be amplified just as well. So those two main tips, as I just said, was to speak away from your microphone if it's too gainy or it peaks too much, or control your levels if you've got that. Control your knobs if you've got that. When I say peak, by the way, when your audio peaks, that's that distortion sound you hear when a 5-year-old loses Call of Duty and he starts screaming and everything goes all broken. It's called distortion. And what that means is when you're recording in Audacity or any other program that records audio, you'll usually see a green bar that moves up and down as you speak. And as long as that green bar is less than 0, then it should sound good. As soon as it goes past 0, you're going to get something called distortion, and that's when the sound more or less breaks. So what that means is that's exactly what I mean when I say you can capture something with a certain amount of gain and then raise the levels later. Because as long as those levels are less than 0, you're not going to peak. So what I mean is, for example, right now I'm speaking comfortably at about -20 decibels. When I raise that by 20 decibels, I'll be speaking at 0 decibels. But my background noise might be at -100, then it'll be raised to about -80, maybe a little bit more. So you're still not going to hear it. But if I'm speaking at -3 and the background noise is at about, -50, -30, if I increase that anymore, not only is my voice going to peak, but you're going to hear the background noise. Or some microphones, the background noise is at -30 and your voice is at -20, then increasing it by 20 decibels, you're going to hear a lot more noise than you would think than your voice. That came out really weird, and I hope you can understand that. But yeah, basically control your gain, control your levels, apply post-editing effects. You don't have to do a lot in post. Literally, I only do 2 things when I do recordings, and that is when I record and I finish recording, I do noise reduction, which is where I record maybe a 10-20 second silence clip, and then I remove that from the original clip in Audacity. It is not hard. You can find very quick tutorials on it. And then I normalize my audio, which is, as I said, normalizing finds the maximum peak of your waveform over your entire track and then moves that up to 0, or I set it to -1. And then it increases everything else by the same amount as well, so that if you're talking quietly and then talking loudly, it's not going to make the quiet bits just as loud as the loud bits. Those are the two, I've lost count. Those are the primary things I wanted to talk about, and really all you can control with certain equipment. There are a few other things you could maybe do in post, but I wouldn't go any more crazy than that. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for your content where you're using your voice. People like me have trouble reading, not because we're illiterate, but because we're slow. And yeah, good job. And I can't wait to see what you can do in the future. I've noticed that some of you have done a little bit more to reduce the amount of distortion and the alike in your audio, and I noticed, so good job. Anyway, I'm going to end this video now, so